Welcome to the Fertility Mind podcast. I am your host, Jessica Friesen, a certified fertility mindset coach, a sound healer, and an international best-selling author. My mission for this podcast is to give you weekly episodes where you hear my own success with IVF and how mindset and manifestation changed it all for me. You will also hear from my guests who share their success stories in the fertility world. I want you to know that you are not alone. Even when things feel tough and when things feel like they aren't going your way, the tools and techniques you will get in this podcast, I know can change everything for you too. So thanks for being here with me today, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today I'm talking about self-image, and I really want to dial this down to fertility. I did record this episode and it was almost 2.5 hours. So I was thinking about breaking it up into a 2-part series because I was really explaining self-image in every area of my life. But as I was editing and I was doing all these things, I very much thought, for the purpose of the Fertility Mind podcast, I really want to just dial it in to fertility. So I'm going to give you the condensed version, and I want you to understand how self-image is your secret self. It's everything that you feel on the inside. And sometimes you have to uncover that feeling by seeing habitual patterns that are on your outside life. And what I would say is find an emotional impact, that your most recent one, and you're going to do the bird's eye view. You're going to look at it from a perspective now that you're out of the situation. You can see all the moving parts that went on to get you to where you are. And because when you're in the thick of it, you don't see those moving parts. You're very much in a place of, it's not working in my time frame. This is not how I want it to work. This was not at all how I thought it was going to work. And often there's a certain amount of control that tries to take place because you're working towards something. So in this case, your fertility. You want to know that you're going to have your baby as soon as possible. You didn't ask to be on the fertility journey. You didn't ask for all these experiences and circumstances that have happened on your journey. So how does self-image tie into that? For the purpose of this episode, when I started studying mindset and manifestation, I really came to understand, by doing a bird's eye view with all of the very prominent emotional impacts in my life, that everyone resulted in me not feeling enough. And I traced it all the way back to my childhood because I asked myself the question, where did this feeling originate? Where did it start? Because it didn't start here. I know that. And by studying all the universal laws and studying mindset and manifestation and all the moving parts of your beliefs and blessing and releasing and frequencies and vibrations, it starts somewhere. And, I originally thought, well, maybe it started on my fertility journey. No. When I started to go back to, we all have childhood memories, good or bad, but you will start to connect the dots and be like, oh. And this isn't to go back and start to think like, oh my gosh, you have a horrible childhood or anything like that. Not at all. But a lot of things happened in my life that really stuck out, that I felt that I wasn't enough. And that became my inner subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind is programmed. Like, your subconscious mind is your breathing. It's everything that you do without thinking about. So it is designed to find how you truly feel on the inside. It's going to find it in everywhere in your outside world. It's going to show up in the contrast that shows up in your life. It's going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up how you feel about money. So when my first mentor said to me, you will never outperform your self-image, I didn't really understand what that meant. And when it finally clicked for me, I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was staring at the sun directly. I was like, this is so bloody clear now, but it's blinding. It's amazing to understand once you understand it and understand your inner workings, how you can change it. And then my second mentor, Kathleen, she was the one that really connected some different dots for me because I thought, like, okay, I was persistent in my fertility journey. I was so persistent. Um, and my first fertility journey, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just using the law of attraction by listening to The Secret and the Power. But my secondary fertility journey, I had started studying all of these things and I understood what persistence meant. And I couldn't understand why I was so persistent with my fertility journey, but other areas in my life were not working as well as I hoped or as I envisioned, and I didn't quite understand some things. So it was my second mentor that had said to me and to all of the people in her community, she talked about if your business isn't going the way you thought it was. There is a feeling that maybe you don't feel like you're worthy of earning a certain amount of money. Maybe you don't feel that you're worthy of helping enough people, whatever your profession or what your job or your legacy that you want to leave is doing. Or maybe you don't believe in yourself. You don't feel worthy. There's always an underlying feeling. When something is not working for you, there's an underlying feeling there. And that allowed me to start digging deeper in other things. So in every area of my life, I did not feel like I was enough. And so the only thing I'm going to say in my step family life, so many situations happened that I didn't feel that I was enough. Um, and it it showed in all the contrast that kept showing up over and over, even in different situations or scenarios. The end lesson was I truly didn't feel like I was enough. So until I flipped that perspective, a lot of things went on in my step family life that things were happening because I didn't feel like I was enough. And when I flipped it, a lot of scenarios changed. And I thought, why didn't I do this so many years ago? And the truth is because I really didn't know that that was my underlying belief. And, I look back now, again, it's that bird's eye view. I look back now and I think of like, employee reviews and I think of how I was treated in other jobs. I had lots of really awesome jobs, and I'm not here to say anything negative about anyone, but just scenarios and situations that went on. I thought, I know without a shadow of a doubt, if I had a different view of myself, things would have been very different, and that's okay. I am where I am today, and I really believe all of these things aligned for me to be where I am. So, honing this back on to fertility, when I was going through a fertility journey and I was starting to do the bird's eye view and understand how I was feeling this feeling, my husband had 3 children naturally with his first wife. And I asked the question after many months of trying. I was not interested in that part of their life, but I wanted to know, you know, did it take you a long time to get pregnant with your girls? Like, was there a long period of trying? And he looked at me and he said, Jay, he said, I don't want to tell you this, but no. And I thought, okay. So my mind starts working. I'm like, okay, well, number one, you had never had a vasectomy and had it reversed, and you guys were younger. And I would try and tell different things, but the inner working was like, I'm not enough. I don't get to have kids naturally with my husband. And another piece to this story is when we started trying to have kids naturally, long before we knew we were going to be on a fertility journey, we got my stepdaughters on board. We were talking to them. Um, and my oldest stepdaughter did this really sweet thing. She had a calendar in her room and she started tracking when she thought my period might come. She'd put a little heart on her calendar. And she would ask me around that time, she'd be like, are you pregnant? And I would have to look at her and say, no, I don't know yet. My period hasn't come, because after a while of trying, sometimes my period was like a day early or it was like 2 days late. So it was kind of that like, could I be? Um, and I had to tell her over and over and over again, no, not this month, but we'll try for next month. And that was really drilling into me that I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough that I not only was I letting her down, I was letting my other girls down. I was letting my husband down because it was taking so long. And I was really, really hard on myself. And so I've talked about my whole journey in my first episode, but long story short, my husband went to his urologist and we were told we had a 10% chance, and that was it because my husband's motility was very low. So we thought, okay, there was quite a long wait. Our appointment wasn't until, so this was in July. Our appointment wasn't until December to get into like our referral to the fertility clinic. So we said we're going to try 2 more months naturally, but we were going to try and do timed intercourse kind of thing. Like I was doing ovulation strips and I had searched on the internet, like they said, have sex every other day, not every day. So his sperm count can, increase a little bit, yada, yada, yada. So we did that for 2 more months. And then I really started losing hope. I thought maybe this isn't going to happen. And for 2 solid months, for October and in October and November, I really started changing my mindset that I should be okay with being a stepmom, that they are wonderful girls. And I really started thinking, like when on weekends when they're with their mom, um, you know, Bobby and I could do different things. I started thinking, like, I really started not getting excited because there was a huge part of feeling let down and that a big part of my dream was over. But I thought, okay, I need to stay optimistic. I'm a very optimistic person and I don't like to feel sad. Um, and I thought like I always got to find the light at the end of the tunnel no matter what. That's who I am. And but there was still that duality going on. I was resonating with, just me and Bobby and the three girls and all the things. But there was still a big piece of me that thought, like, I don't get to know what it's like to have my own baby and have kids in the house all the time and have 100% say, because when you're a stepmom, you know, they already have a mom and a dad. So we're just the extra parents. And yes, our opinion matters, but the biological parents have the final say. I'll leave it at that. Um, so bringing this back to your fertility journey, when we were on our fertility journey, I went in with the utmost excited hope. But I didn't, again, I'll reiterate and I'll sound like a broken record and I apologize for sounding like a broken record, but I didn't really understand that my inner feeling was I wasn't enough. And so when our first, second, and third um, failed transfers happened, it was really at that point, like I was like, I am clearly not enough. I'm not, clearly I'm not good at IVF. I'm letting, again, we're spending money that we don't have. Um, all the moving parts. And it was so relevant. And when we got pregnant with our twins, it was the most amazing thing. Because I really, again, I don't want to reiterate my whole entire first episode. Um, but I really honed in on gratitude and really visualizing myself with my babies, with everything. And I know that that's what I didn't focus on my inner thoughts. I didn't know anything about thinking about inner thoughts at that point. But I consciously made a decision that I absolutely 100% was going to be a mom and I was going to give it my all. I was going to have boy girl twins. I was going to do this. I didn't realize that I changed my belief and that I changed my inner self image. Because at that point, I said to myself, I know I am meant to be a mom. I know that this isn't the end of my story and I refuse. I refuse to let this be the end of my story. And sure enough, we got pregnant with my twins. And um, then we were told about a vanishing twin, that there is a chance that up until 20 weeks, you can have a vanishing twin. Um, and again, that feeling instantly kind of came back. I thought, what if I'm not enough to carry both these babies to term? What if I'm not enough to carry both these babies? Like, what if I lose one of these babies? Because so far nothing has been working out the way I ever imagined. And so many things. I was grateful every day that I was pregnant. But up until 20 weeks, there was this massive, massive fear that went on. And I kept pushing it aside. I kept pushing it aside. And after 20 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. I had a perfect pregnancy up until 29 weeks. So, I mean, like, people said to me, like, are you sure you're pregnant with twins? And I was like, yes, I'm pregnant with twins. And they're just like, all the things like the high risk complications and things that can happen with a twin pregnancy. I didn't have any of those complications or any of those things. And everyone's like, and you also went through IVF? I went, yes. And they're just like, oh. But at 29 weeks, I went into preterm labor. It was stopped. Um, But that feeling again of me not being enough really, really, really persisted. I'm 29 weeks pregnant. I was, listed all the complications if my twins were born that day, um, you know, chances of survival risk, all of these things. And I was scared out of my wits because I was in the hospital by myself. And my husband came to the hospital after I was sent to a hospital about an hour away, um, because our local hospital, our hospital in my hometown, it is not equipped to deliver babies under 34 weeks. So I needed to be transferred to a hospital that had a NICU. And as I was on the ride there, like that was the first time I was ever in an ambulance, and that was the first time I being in an ambulance and with the sirens on. It adds that intense impact of like they are trying to get me to this hospital as fast as possible because I'm in labor with twins at 29 weeks. We were able to stop it. All I kept doing in that whole ride there was, I am meant to be a mom and I am safe. I am safe and I am protected and everything is okay. I have guardian angels. I am safe and we are protected. I'm trying not to go into too much detail about the birth story. But again, that dual feeling was I wasn't enough. Like my body wasn't enough to save these babies. And when we were able to stop the labor, that was amazing. And I was told I was going to be in the hospital for the next 11 weeks to keep those babies in as long as possible. And I thought, okay, so that was on a Thursday morning. By the Monday morning, I was released and I was sent home because, again, only knowing The Secret, only knowing what I had learned from The Secret and the Power by Rhonda Byrne, all I knew was the law of attraction, the secret. What is it that I want? So I was not focusing on my inner feelings. Determination took over for me. And that was an incredible thing. I kept saying, these babies are going to come when they are going to come, but they're going to be ready. They're going to be healthy and we're going to be fine. My twins were born at 31 weeks, 6 days. So 1 day shy of 32 weeks. They did not need CPAP. They got great on their APGAR scores, everything. We did spend 11 days in the NICU and in total 6 weeks in hospital before they were able to come home. But that was because my son wouldn't pass his car seat test. Sorry, no, that was my daughter. That's a whole different story. I'm trying to keep this on fertility. And I just want you to know that when you apply this information, so much can work for you. So, long story short, every area of my life, I did not feel like I was enough. I didn't feel like I was enough when it came to money. That the most I had ever made was, it was okay. And I started settling with that idea. Like, I can still have a decent life and, I have to save a lot before we can do things, but that's okay. You can do a lot of free things with your family and your kids. And the way I was treated by a lot of people around me was because I didn't think that I was enough. And that went into my labor, that went into my fertility. And after my twins were born, mom guilt really set in, and I really felt like I wasn't enough because there was a whole um, breastfeeding journey. I ended up ultimately pumping for my twins. I couldn't actually hold them to my breast. And when my stepdaughters were feeding my twins, here's the duality. My heart was absolutely melted that my girls wanted to feed my twins. Um, but the problem is what was going on inside of me was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. My body's designed for this. My body's made for this. Why is this not happening to me? Why do I have to pump? Why? And there's so much that I want to share with you about every area of my life when I wasn't feeling like I was enough. I was never diagnosed with postpartum depression, or any of those things, but there was a lot of inner workings. I was grieving a life that I thought I was going to have of a maternity leave. My husband, in his previous marriage, he got 3 months paternity leave with each one of his girls. I got 2 weeks with my twins. And I asked my husband to take his 2 weeks vacation um, when um, when the twins were home for the hospital so that I could have him and adjust to being at home. And then after that, as soon as that 2 weeks was up, I was, getting two twins out the door and getting my three girls to different schools because my husband picked up the girls from school on his days. So, anyway, it literally played into every area of my life, and I was able to connect the dots of all the relationships, all the like all the jobs, all the things that I've had. And it was like this map that I saw thinking like, "Oh my gosh. So why did I want to change it?" I was at a point in my life where I just needed everything to change, and everyone that was looking into my life was like, "You are so lucky. You're a stay-at-home mom." And blah 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 blah. And I thought, I'm drowning. I loved being a stay-at-home mom, and I knew I had so much to be grateful for, but I was drowning in a lot of circumstances, a lot of things that were going on in my life that just they're not meant for publication. Um, and it was a scary place. It was an awful place. It was I would hide very much behind a smile. And you know, when you don't feel like you're enough and you're on a fertility journey, I really, really do know for a fact that it was my belief that I was going to be a mom that saved me. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was meant to be a mom. There is points where, there is wavering faith, but you need to hold unwavering faith. So wavering faith means, you're holding hope, you're excited, um, you're starting the next process or the next journey to get you closer to having your baby. But if that inner working is telling you that you're not enough or you don't believe that it's going to work for you, that's what you will start seeing on your outside world. And I know that that's hard for people to hear. And I'm really honestly trying to say this with the utmost amount of love and the utmost amount of tact. And if you don't believe that to be true, whoever needs to hear this is going to hear this. I have come across many fertility coaches. I have come across many people that have been on a fertility journey that said, no, that's not it. And, again, telling me that I am a lucky one because I was able to have success. They've been on their journey for a very long time. And all I can do is send them the utmost amount of love. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in coincidences. I very much believe in the universal laws and mindset and manifestation. And I really understand when Kathleen, my mentor, said, if something's not working, there's a belief and like a self image behind it. So you uncover what those thoughts are, uncover what those feelings are, uncover what's going on inside of you. When you go to your appointment, it's okay to feel nervous, but is that nervousness true just being nervous because you're excited and like, oh my gosh, like this is the moment, or oh, I don't know what it's going to feel like? Or is it nervousness because you think, am I spending money for a chance and this may not work? Or is there the feeling like it hasn't worked yet? I hope more than anything it works, but it hasn't worked yet. So I'm not holding out too much hope, but my God, please work, please work. There is so many underlying feelings, and I want you to become aware of those feelings that you are feeling when you are going to your appointments. Are you still holding on to resentment that you didn't get pregnant naturally? Are you holding on to fear? Fear of what? Fear of people might have a judgment that you had to go through fertility treatments? Is it against your religion? All the things. Because I have had so many conversations with people where fertility treatments was against their religion, but more than anything, they wanted to have a baby. So they went against their religion so that they could have their baby, but there was shame around it. And they did not want to talk about it. They did not want to share any part of that because when they got to have a baby, then they could tell their story of like, yeah, we're pregnant. We got to have a baby. Um, and I promise with my whole heart, I'm never here to judge. But I truly, truly believe that there is a belief around everything, that there is a self-image around everything. And when I uncovered that feeling that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't worthy, I'll share this. I truly believe that my husband is my twin flame, and we even have a matching tattoo that says, I would find you in any lifetime, because I truly believe that he is like my soulmate and that we're like fire and water. We balance each other perfectly. And there's the right amount of calming, there's the right amount of heat, there's the right amount of passion on each side that when one is a little bit out of balance, the other one can just balance each other out. It takes work. Don't get me wrong. There is no hearts and sparkles all year round every single day. There is contrast. There is things that have happened in our marriage that could have torn us apart many times. Um, but we balanced each other, and we always came back to each other and found each other stronger. But why I'm sharing this little part is because I held a feeling of not enough. I never imagined when you're a kid and you think about like what you want your life to look like. I used to imagine, having a nice house, being a stay-at-home mom till my kids were 5 and then getting them off to school and then going back into the work field. Um, I imagined all of these fun things. I wanted 4 kids. I had all these different names picked out for them. I never once imagined having a blended family. I don't think anyone ever does. Um, but I truly believe you can't help who you fall for. And I am beyond grateful that I met my husband. Um, but I really do believe, and I don't know how to say this without tact, without you understanding all the situations that had happened, but I'm sharing this because he brought 3 little girls into my life, which are incredible. But he also brought in a third party, which is his ex-wife, because they're always going to be tied together because they had children together. And we had this blended family situation. We still have this blended family situation. Um, but she had a higher stature career than me at that time. And that instantly, she did never imparted this, but I instantly felt like I am not enough. Like I can't compare to this woman. Like, oh my gosh, why do you like me? These are all things that I felt upon myself. So please understand, I do need to say these things out loud. I am not judging. I'm not saying things because I really do like to remain tactful. Um, but that feeling of that I wasn't enough, it literally sunk into every area of my life. And My husband has asked me, he's like, now that you discovered not that feeling of not enough, he said, do you think your life would be different? And I said, yes, in many ways, yes. I said, but I really do believe that I was meant to find you. I do really believe. I said, but I feel like our life would have been very different with situations and scenarios because truthfully now, when I changed my self-image, I started writing down the person that I wanted to be everywhere in my life. And I mean, like, I wrote down things like I am one with the universe. I am one with creator, meaning like I feel like I am spiritual. I wrote down things like I am confident and that I am always divinely guided. I wrote down things that, I am I'm an action taker. I wrote down things. The first thing that I truly wrote down was I am enough and I am worthy of love and I am worthy of respect and I am worthy of these things. But I had to be careful with the things that I wrote down because if I didn't believe them, I was just affirming that I wasn't those things. So I started writing down over and over, and I sat with myself. I thought, what would it feel like to feel like enough? How would people start treating me? How would I start treating myself? How would I stop nitpicking myself apart? Like, I'm not this perfect mother by any means, or um, just how I handle situations when they're thrown at me. And I started thinking of all these things, and I thought, I actually am enough right now. I am enough right now. And when I really honed in on that I am enough and I am worthy of love, that's when I started thinking, like, how can I help people? What is my passion? What is my goal? And I thought, I want to help people on their fertility journey. I want to be that beacon of light for them, that beacon of hope. I want them to know the universal law so they can apply it to their journey so that they can, number one, find far more joy in the journey and hopefully collapse that time that things happen a lot faster for them. And also to give them unwavering faith or give them the tools so that they develop that unwavering faith within themselves and that they ultimately know to never give up on their dreams because your dreams are your dreams for a reason. So I know I've kind of bounced all over the place, but without a shadow of a doubt, every part of my being knows that you are meant to have the things that you desire. It doesn't mean that it's going to come to you without contrast. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're not going to experience things. But if you really understand your inner workings, you really understand that inner feeling, listen to what that is saying. Because when I felt like I wasn't worthy, it showed. It showed in every area of my life. Every area of my life. And when I changed my self image, my goodness, I feel so in love with money. That doesn't mean I'm a millionaire. That doesn't mean I've got oodles and oodles of money flowing out me. No, I just absolutely fell in love with money. I fell in love with the worthiness of money. I fell in love with the worthiness of me, of having the utmost amount of love in my life. I fell in love with my desire to help people. I fell in love with being able to have a podcast that I can give you as much free information as possible and that I can connect you with people that could be in your local area or just so you hear these stories of hope because I was in the fertility world and I was surrounded by everyone telling me how it does not work. And I can tell you, I am still in a lot of social media groups that are still filled with such dwindling hope. And it's my passion and it is my purpose for you that is listening to this. Please don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your goals. Really listen to what your self image is telling you. Really listen to what your self-image is telling you. Because when you change that self-image, when you change that belief, things will start working. Things will start working for you. And, you know, I said this to my husband. He was feeling a bit of contrast. He was going through some things. And I said to him, I said, if you had a crystal ball that told you, this is the situation, this is how it ends, how would you respond and act and take actions differently? And he started listing things off. And I said, so be your own damn crystal ball, babe. Be your own damn crystal ball. And he said, how? And I said, visualize your dreams, visualize your goals, listen to what your inner self is telling you. If you don't feel worthy of money, or if you don't feel worthy of being a parent, if you don't feel worthy of XYZ, you'll start to see success, but it's going to fall back. And I said, create your outcome, create your own outcome. What do you want? What would you desire? And let the how come to you. If you listen to my second episode on my secondary journey, you will see synchronicities, because I did not think of frozen sperm. I did not think of things. All I knew is I was persistent and I was not going to let the nurse tell me we were going to cancel my cycle. And I know that if I wasn't persistent, I would have been waitlisted, and that we would not have had my son when we would have had my son. But these ideas just kept coming to me, ideas that I'd never heard about, ideas that I'd never read about. It was like an intuitive thought. And I thought, okay, there is many different ways of having a baby. And, I interviewed Kaylee over Easter weekend, and she lives in Australia, and she was talking about thinking outside of the box with fertility. So she was able to have her daughter. They didn't use fertility clinics. She was a single mom. She wanted to be a single mom. She needed a sperm donor. She looked at the cost of going to sperm donors, like with fertility clinics, and they were far too expensive. She was not wanting to do that. So she actually Googled sperm donors, and she found different people, and she went on the site and she found a way to connect with this person, and they were able to, have a sample, do all the things, and she was able to get pregnant. She was very, very much outside of the box, but there is so many different ways of doing things. And what you don't know is what you don't know. And being in the fertility world, it is my goal and it is my passion to have a subscription that is going to happen soon, where people openly talk about medical protocols. It's something that can't be on social media because they block all of those things. So it will be a subscription off of social media sites, but it will be through my own website. I'm sharing this with you now because I'm collaborating with a lot of people, which I'm very excited about, that really talk about, their medical protocols and all of those things, because, there is so many aspects to fertility that if you just go to your doctor, they're going to give you what they know to be true for them, or they might even give you the kitchen sink. I've done the kitchen sink method before. And I don't know if that's valid with any other doctors. My fertility doctor, he said, we're going to give you the kitchen sink. And I thought, okay, you tell me what I'm going to do and I'll get pregnant. But now that I'm outside of the fact, like, there's so many things that I wish I would have asked, so many things that I wish I would have known. And I want that for my listeners, and I want that for my clients. I want them to have a resource to go to and be like, oh my gosh, like, what do I ask on my consultation? What do I ask on this appointment? Or, when you share medical protocols with people that might have a similar situation with you, maybe you can bring that to your doctor and say to them, hey, would this work for me? They can ultimately say, yes, it wouldn't, or no, it wouldn't, or whatever. But you also need to really have that great relationship with your fertility doctor as well, that you can talk about different things openly. And if you don't have that relationship, you know, find it. And self-image is everything. So bringing this back to self-image, bringing this back to fertility, bringing this back to just trying to close this with a big power boom is when you really understand your inner thoughts. So if you're going in your fertility journey and you think I don't think I'm worthy of being a mom or a parent, depending on your sexual orientation or your family dynamic, um, really start to really change that. Really know that you are meant to have the things that you want and desire, and they will come to you. So, really listen to your thoughts. Listen to the things that you feel when you're going into your fertility appointments or you're gearing up for it. Or listen to those doubts. Listen to those things that are going on and change them. Change them. Because even when you do become pregnant, because I know when I became pregnant, I was so grateful. But that feeling of not being enough because I wasn't aware of it at that time, it kept creeping up, and it didn't stop creeping up until I changed it. And it really did show up in the contrast that was constantly happening. It showed up in my environment with how I allowed people to treat me. And please don't think that I'm this like weak, like, oh, poor me. No, um, but now because I have very much worked on that self-image part, and every time contrast shows up, I'm like, "Okay, so where's my belief around this? What am I really holding about this? Because I wanna change this, because I don't wanna keep going through it over and over and over again." So if you're on a fertility journey right now, become in tune with everything. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the fact that you're there, and focus on you. How do you feel? Do you believe that the universe is always working out for you? Or do you believe that this is just, it sucks that you're here? Really hold your self image of what it is that you want. What it is that you want. Don't just lean into hope. Really understand yourself. And the best starting point is doing the bird's eye view and going back to emotional impacts, and maybe it's happening right now, and you can start to see moving parts, how they're aligning for you. I can tell you, I wish I would have had my twins in 2012. They didn't come till 2015. And my last baby, I wish that he would have come in 2017, not 2020. But they came at the exact right divine time. So when you hold your self-image very strong and you know your worth and you know what it is that you want and you have unwavering faith that it is all working out for you, even when the tough happens, allow yourself to feel the tough. Allow yourself to feel the grief. Don't push it down. Allow yourself to feel it. Because it's valid. You are going through something. But also pick yourself up and hold strong to that self-image, and you will see your outside world changing. You will get intuitive hits. You will get so many things coming to you that says, yes, you are meant to have the things that you desire. Yes, it's going to work. Just hold strong. I honestly always believe that there is beautiful reminders out there when I start to have a moment of, okay, something's going on, something that I didn't ask for. Why is this going on now? There's a beautiful reminder. People look at spiritual animals or spiritual signs. Whatever you need to do, hold strong to your self image. Really understand your patterns, your way of thinking, and start to change it by knowing that you are meant to have these things, even if it feels like right now it's not working for you. Be your own crystal ball. Believe that it is meant to happen. Believe that you are worthy of love. You are worthy of having your goals, desires, and dreams. Visualize it, hold it, feel it, and know it is happening. Act as if it's happening. If you go into a baby store and you shy away from the section, or if your grocery store, our grocery store, one of our grocery stores here in town has a whole clothing section, including a baby section. If you have to shy away from that, heal that part of you. Heal that part of you so that you can keep moving forward. Because that one piece, that negative piece that's saying, I don't know, that is holding on. Maybe someday I will share every part of my life, from where I was this quiet, shy girl to this very confident, very open, very sometimes maybe too honest person. But I didn't stand up for myself, and now I don't take anything. I tell myself I know my worth. I tell myself, yes, I believe I went through these things, that they got me here today, because I'm here sharing with you my story. But when I say I literally connected the dots back to my childhood of feeling like I wasn't enough and how it presented itself in all the contrast, even a car accident. My God, I never asked for a car accident. No one ever does. I didn't ask for a fertility journey. No one ever asked to be on a fertility journey. However, when that underlying feeling was revealed to me of not being enough, and I really started working on that, I really started changing. Yes, I will be honest, when I first started doing it, I had moments when I would walk into different areas. I can show up one way for my clients because that's who I really am. But when there's different people that have known me my whole childhood and be like, oh no, she couldn't be that person now. I feel myself sometimes, I should say I used to feel myself sometimes sliding back. But now I'm like, no, not at all. I get to be me. I get to choose the things that I get to choose, not because of luck, not because I had all the experiences or I had all the things. Nothing in my life was ever handed to me. I'll tell you that. I chose this. I chose to change my self-image, and everything around me started to change. And the more I focus on it, the more that I keep having these grander awakenings to this new level of person that I want to be. I sit down every day and I journal, and I think of, I set goals for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then the ultimate big prize. Yes, I would love that to happen today, but I am scaling things in the sense of what person do I have to be? What self-image do I have to hold? My mentor, Kathleen, she talks about $100 million Kathleen. To this date, she's made more than 20 million. But she talks about how she has to step into a new version of herself, a new self-image, because the self-image that took her from, $100,000 a year in her healthcare business to, $20 million Kathleen, that woman has changed a lot. Not necessarily physically, all of her inner changing. She still has her core values. She still has things, but her worthiness, how she values herself, how she takes action towards things, that is all tied into your self-image. How you show up differently is tied into your self-image. So, I am leaving you with this. Your story could be someone else's survival guide. So look at your self-image. Be the person that you want to be. Change your beliefs and really know you are worthy. You are enough of every desire and goal and dream that you want. Have an amazing day. If you found this helpful or know anyone that needs to hear this, please share. And don't forget to leave a review and subscribe. In love and gratitude, Jessica.